Astronauts on a spaceship discover a new planet, an exact replica of Earth, inhabited by another version of humans with mysterious rules and laws. Morning. A girl's alarm clock rings. She wakes up, turns it off, and goes to brush her teeth. On the TV, a talk show is airing. Two men are justifying and apologizing for some wrongdoing. The screen is divided into red and green zones at the bottom. Meanwhile, the girl is talking on the phone. She tells her conversation partner that she doesn't want to see their mutual friend because she received 15 dislikes last week, which is very bad. Her conversation is interrupted by the host, who calls for a vote. The girl asks her partner what the problem is with the men on the screen, as she missed the beginning of the show. Without waiting for an answer, she decides that one of the men looks suspicious and gives them a dislike by pressing the red zone. The men from the show, dressed in orange jumpsuits, are escorted somewhere by armed guards. Entering one of the rooms, one of them sees something horrific and tries to run, but the guard shoots him. The other man is brought into the room. He is placed in a special chair, his hands and feet strapped down, and a helmet with numerous wires is put on his head. A screen on the wall is divided into two zones. One of the men accompanying him announces that the voting has begun, and numbers start changing on the screen. The condemned man watches in horror as the numbers in the red zone relentlessly approach 10 million. As soon as they do, the helmet activates, and he begins to scream in pain. The Orville arrives in orbit of the planet. Lieutenant Gordon Malloy, looking at it through the panoramic window, notes with surprise that this planet looks very much like Earth. Ed Mercer and Isaac confirm this. It not only looks similar but also matches Earth's 21st century level of development. The captain plans to send a search party to the planet. Researchers sent to study the planet haven't made contact for over a month. In their last report, they mentioned successfully assimilating into society and attached a bunch of cool photos. Appointing Borchus as the lead, Ed goes to check on the team's preparations. Lieutenant John Lamar, struggling with the discomfort of his clothing, tries to squeeze into a pair of jeans. Kelly and Alara, standing nearby, assure him that he looks great. The Zelian officer is also unhappy with her outfit, feeling that she looks ridiculous, especially with the headband she's wearing. In response to her complaints, the first officer suggests checking out other headwear options available on the planet, as her unusual forehead and ears need to be concealed. After making a request to the computer, several hat options appear on the table, and Dr. Claire Finn selects one of them. As they dress, Ed enters, joking about their appearance, hands them money, and teaches them how to use it. Noticing the doctor's concern, he reassures her that they will succeed in finding their friends. The captain gives some final instructions, and the team sets off for Sargas 4. On the planet, everyone wears badges on their chests. People give each other likes for compliments, good deeds, and joyful encounters, and dislikes for behavior they consider inappropriate. The team appears on the street. Approaching the first kiosk they see, they show the vendor photos of the two missing anthropologists, asking if he has seen them. Glancing at the photos, the man says he recognizes them and mentions they used to hang out at a cafe further up the street. He then asks why they aren't wearing badges, as it is forbidden to go without them in their society. The team tries to come up with an excuse, but the vendor interrupts and offers to sell them 4 badges with boosted likes. They agree, take the badges, and struggle to pay before leaving. A minor spat breaks out between Alara and John, with the lieutenant making jokes about Alara's personal life. Trying to tease her further, John jumps onto a statue and performs an inappropriate dance with it. While he does this, several people film him on their smartphones. Kelly, scolding the lieutenant, leads the team to the cafe. In the cafe, a TV show with a voting segment is playing. A woman approaches the bar and asks for a cup of coffee, but the bartender refuses. The cafe has a rule: they don't serve customers with more than 500,000 dislikes. The woman starts begging, saying she's been turned away from every other cafe, but the bartender drives her out. At that moment, the team enters the cafe and heads to the bar. The woman immediately notices them, especially John. Introducing herself as Lysella, she gives John a like. Kelly diverts her attention and shows her the photos of the anthropologists. Lysella is surprised they're asking about them since everyone knows them. About a month ago, they underwent correction. Suddenly, John's badge starts receiving dislikes rapidly. He doesn't understand why, but when the team looks at the screens, they see a video of his dance with the statue, with his badge number and a call to vote on his behavior. The dislikes on his badge have already reached 500,000, and Lysella throws them out of the cafe. A bit puzzled by what's going on, the team heads outside. They're immediately surrounded by hostile people. Kelly contacts Ed, reports their troubles, and says they need to return urgently. But they don't make it in time. The authorities apprehend John. Meanwhile, the captain contacts a general, reports the situation, and requests permission for extradition. But the general refuses and orders them not to interfere. John sits in a detention center. A man arrives, and John assumes he's his lawyer, but the man is puzzled by the term. He introduces himself as a social specialist who will help John navigate his repentance tour. John is confused, never having heard of such a tour. The man explains that John committed an offensive act against the statue of the settlers' leader, Melagifendon. It was captured on video and uploaded to the public feed. The video has received over 1 million dislikes, making John a state criminal. He now faces a repentance tour, where people will decide his guilt. If the dislikes don't reach 10 million, he will be freed. Hearing this, John laughs, not believing it's serious. But the specialist is very serious and informs him that if the dislikes reach 10 million, he will be sent for correction, a series of neurological procedures to eliminate potential negative impulses. Realizing the gravity of the situation, John's laughter quickly fades. The captain contacts Kelly, who briefs him on the situation. He relays the general's order prohibiting extradition. During their conversation, a guard approaches the women, giving them 5 minutes to see John. John explains that he must publicly apologize, and then the public will decide his fate. He hopes that an armed team from the Orville might rescue him, but Kelly informs him that permission for that hasn't been granted. They must adhere to local laws. John is allowed to bring one person with him on the tour, and he asks Kelly to accompany him. She agrees, promising to do everything in her power to help him. John also describes the punishment, which involves a brainwashing procedure to remove negative thoughts, alarming Dr. Claire. Given that this society is at a 21st century level of development, she doubts they have the technology to make this procedure safe without turning him into a vegetable. Fearful for his future, John jumps up and starts banging on the glass walls, demanding to be freed and asserting that he's an astronaut. Once he's calmed down, Kelly asks Claire if she could restore his brain if needed, but Claire doesn't know. She needs to examine someone who has undergone the procedure first. Alara recalls the bartender mentioning the 2 anthropologists who underwent correction, so finding them is crucial. Just then, the social specialist enters and informs John that his session will begin in 20 minutes. John sits before a mirror with Kelly standing beside him as makeup is applied, and the lawyer gives last-minute advice. The show starts, and John steps out to face the hosts, who bombard him with questions he can't answer. Meanwhile, Grayson contacts Ed, who is watching the show and is astonished by the lack of formal legal procedures. Kelly reports that she couldn't find any evidence of judicial processes. Everything is decided by public opinion. Isaac suggests this is an example of an unstructured democracy, unlike any other known world. John tries to apologize and improve his situation, but he only makes it worse. Voting begins, and the number of dislikes climbs to 4 million. Alara and Claire return to the cafe to see Lysella. She's happy to see them and feels very sorry for what they've been through. They thank her and hope that John will make it through, but Lysella doesn't know who they're talking about. When she realizes it's about a guy, she gets upset and tells them they need to forget about him and move on. Talking to him is out of the question now. Seeing it's easier to agree, the girls switch the conversation to the missing men. They ask Lysella where they live and if they can be found. At that moment, a guy approaches Lysella and demands she remove her Kelvian religious headgear, angrily giving her a thumbs down. A bit flustered, Lysella quickly makes up reasons why she can't take off her hat, but it doesn't work. The guy threatens to post the video online for votes. Realizing the situation is getting tense, the doctor takes Alara to the restroom, apologizing and promising to remove the headgear immediately. Ripping a piece of fabric from her tunic, the woman asks Alara to remove the headgear to make a bandage. But suddenly, the bartender walks in. Seeing Alara's unusual appearance, she gets scared and tries to run away, but they catch her and offer to explain everything over a drink. Sitting outside the cafe, the bartender gulps down a glass of wine, shocked to learn they are aliens. The doctor then asks for her help. The 2 men are their colleagues, who came to study the planet. Lysella explains why they were convicted and shows them a photo. In the photo, the 2 men are sitting on a train, with a pregnant woman standing next to them. They didn't give up their seats, and the photo was uploaded online, getting a lot of thumbs down. They probably didn't even notice her, but it didn't matter. Society decided they were guilty. Lysella adds that one of them tried to run before the procedure and was shot, but she doesn't remember which one. After the correction, people are sent home, and Lysella, struggling to recall, tells them the street where they lived. The girls find their colleague's apartment, but it seems empty. However, in one of the rooms, Alara finds Lewis. He's acting very strangely, and Claire decides they need to get him back to the ship immediately. Meanwhile, the social specialist tries to help John by suggesting he face the public with a positive attitude. John takes the advice, but the host disapproves. John committed a very bad act, and despite this, he appears cheerful and carefree, and even assaulted some audience members. On the ship, the doctor scans Lewis, and to her great disappointment, finds that the brain damage is irreversible. Meanwhile, John faces another round of voting, and the number of dislikes is increasing again. Only the final vote remains, which will decide his fate. Wilkes doubts John can avoid correction, as no one has ever avoided it after reaching 9 million dislikes in the penultimate stage. Kelly contacts the captain, who reports that Claire couldn't heal Lewis, putting the lieutenant in a desperate situation. Ed then comes up with a plan. He wants to bring Lysella to the ship. The general forbade them from sending anyone to the planet, but not from bringing someone back. The bartender and Alara fly to the Orville in a small shuttle. She's very impressed and wants to take pictures, but she's not allowed. Upon arriving on the ship, the captain starts asking her about the planet. She explains about the badges, absolute democracy, and the master feed, where everyone posts. John, wearing an orange jumpsuit, is escorted by armed guards, with Kelly following. Seeing the chair, he starts to panic, but they forcefully sit him down and strap him in. The final vote starts in 7 minutes. Ed urgently asks for something that could sway people in John's favor. Lysella suggests writing that John supports his grandmother. Isaac generates the post and sends it out. Then they think of posting his childhood photos, showing he was a chubby teenager. When this proves insufficient and the dislikes keep rising, they come up with a story that he's a soldier and has a dog. Isaac quickly creates a video of John in military uniform joyfully reuniting with his dog and hugging it. The post is immediately sent to the feed. The lieutenant watches in horror as the dislikes continue to climb. In the final seconds, the count stops at 9,999,996 dislikes. John is immediately freed, but before leaving, he tells everyone present that he is actually an alien. The captain thanks Lysella for her help, as their colleague is now free. In response, she also expresses her gratitude, saying it was the best adventure of her life and she would love to tell people about it at home, though she doubts anyone will believe her. Dr. Claire then suggests she simply share that the world has the potential to become better. The Orville departs from the orbit of Sargas 4. The next morning, Lysella's alarm clock rings. She wakes up, turns it off, and heads to the kitchen. On the TV, a talk show host urges viewers to vote. Lysella reaches for the screen to give a thumbs down but stops halfway and simply turns off the TV instead. Is this form of governance viable, or is it just pure anarchy? Share your thoughts in the comments below, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.